Dom DeLuise was born in Brooklyn, New York. Inspired by his early school stage appearances, he attended the High School of the Performing Arts in Manhattan. For 5 years, he sought work in theater or television with little luck. He finally decided to enroll in Tufts College and study biology with the aim of becoming a teacher. However, acting called him back, and he found work at the Cleveland Playhouse in 1952 as an apprentice, painting scenery, stage managing, and doing other production tasks. He stayed on to join the acting ensemble for the 1953, 54, 54, and 55 seasons, appearing in such main stage productions as Bloomer Girl, Stalag 17, The School for Scandal, Night Must Fall, Best Foot Forward, Hamlet, and A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. He remarked about his time at Cleveland Playhouse in an interview, "I worked 2 years solidly on plays and moving furniture and painting scenery and playing parts. It was quite an amazing learning place for me." Returning to New York, Dom continued his acting career on and off Broadway in such memorable productions as The Last of the Red Hot Lovers, Little Mary Sunshine, and Here's Love. Gary Moore, a premier entertainer and host, saw him in Here's Love and signed him to appear on his variety television show doing comedy shtick as Dominic the Great, and that launched his television career, comprising of hundreds of on-camera and voice-over appearances. He had an amazing 12-year run on The Dean Martin Show. He performed on camera or was the voice of many animated characters in more than 70 motion pictures, including The Cannonball Run 1 and 2, Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood Men in Tights. Dom performed in more than 25 stage productions throughout his career. In 1990, he appeared in Deflator Mouse at the Metropolitan Opera in the comedy speaking role of Frosh the Jailer. He also directed more than 5 plays and musicals at the Burt Reynolds Theater in Jupiter, Florida during the 1980 season. As an author, he started writing children's books such as Charlie the Caterpillar, The Pouch Potato, and King Bob's New Clothes. But it was his obsession with food that led to writing and illustrating 2 popular cookbooks and appearing on TV talk shows preparing his recipes. Dom was grateful for the experience he had at Cleveland Playhouse, and in the 60s and 70s participated in fundraising campaigns with Margaret Hamilton, Jerome Lawrence, Robert E. Lee, Jack Weston, and other distinguished Playhouse artists. Dom spent the majority of his career in support, and the legacy of Dom's supporting role with Cleveland Playhouse will always be cherished. For 34 years, Richard Gould was an important and formative part of the Cleveland Playhouse community. As a young man, he had experimented with acting, dancing, theater design, and interior decorating, areas of artistic expression which continue to be an essential part of his life. In 1954, Richard came to the Cleveland Playhouse scenic staff under the leadership of Paul Rogers, where he honed his skills in stage design, scene painting, and stagecraft. He immediately embraced the strong communal environment of the Playhouse Company, and with his humor and love of storytelling, has forever since been an enthusiastic participant and perpetuator of its history. In 1960, Richard returned to his Michigan roots to become the head of design of the Kalamazoo Civic Players, a highly respected community theater with an ambitious program and a large professional support staff. Here he designed sets, lights, and costumes, and supervised aspiring young artists who joined the theater program as either paid interns or community volunteers. His generosity, enthusiasm, patience, and good humor made him an immediate success as a teacher and mentor. During those years, Richard's professional relationship with the Playhouse continued to flourish. He made many trips to Cleveland to see productions during the winter season, and then worked with the Playhouse each summer as lighting designer and technical director of the Chautauqua season. Occasionally, he could also be observed trotting the boards in a small and humorous cameo role. And he brought wonderful stories of the Playhouse Company back to Michigan. In 1971, Richard was invited to join Richard Oberlin's staff as the head of design at the Playhouse. Several of those young people he had mentored were honored to be asked to join him. Richard led the design staff in Cleveland and Chautauqua, producing a large body of his own work and encouraging the use of both established and new young designers until the discontinuance of the resident company in 1988. Having embraced Cleveland as his home, Richard has continued to have a vibrant, productive career in the local theater community, producing work at such venues as the Beck Center, Kane Park, Dodama, and Ensemble Theaters, and he remains an avid supporter and friend to the many new young artists he has met. Evie McIlroy was a leading lady and the first female staff director of the Cleveland Playhouse resident company for 20 years, from 1968 until its discontinuance in 1988. Her training was in the graduate program of the University of Minnesota, including 2 years as a member of the newly formed Guthrie Theater Company, working with such actors as Hume Croynan, Jessica Tandy, Zoe Caldwell, and Len Carew. Here she developed her passion for the unique quality of work possible in a resident company, and her approach to directing was shaped by her experience as an assistant to the director Sir Tyrone Guthrie. In 1968, having recently performed the lead role in Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children at the Long Wharf Theater, Kahlo invited Evie to come to the Playhouse to play the role of Serafina in The Rose Tattoo. She was then asked to stay on as the first full-time female actor in the company. In 1972, she became the first female company member to direct when she helmed Pinter's Old Times in the Brooks Theater. During her career at the Playhouse, Evie was involved in over 84 productions, of which she directed 13. As a company actor, she played roles large and small, comedy, drama, and musicals. She especially enjoyed and was known for those roles which examine human emotions and relationships by looking at the complexity, vulnerability, and the frailty of the human character. By her honest bearing of the character's inner soul, she was able to let the audience relate, emphasize, and understand. The character of Bea Hunsdorfer in the world premiere of The Effect of Gamma Rays on Man in the Moon Marigolds was one of these characters and one of her favorites. One area of special interest was the development of new scripts, and Evie had several opportunities in the Brooks Theater in the 80s. In the Belly of the Beast was a play she helped develop using Jack Abbott's script and by corresponding with him in prison. Kids in the Dark was a collaboration with the author Rick Cleveland and a group of local teen actors to study teenage substance abuse. Evie loved to rehearse as much as to perform. She relished that time for discovery and experimentation and loved to be challenged to try new things. She appreciated the depth found in collaboration and building on relationships with other company members. Consequently, her fellow actors and technicians loved working with her. She was a perfect fit for the Cleveland Playhouse resident company, which she loved so much. Stanley and Barbara Schiffman Meisel have been a powerful and dedicated couple for many arts institutions in Cleveland. For countless years, Stan and Bobby have been generous supporters of Cleveland Playhouse through both their time and financial resources. In great part, they have supported children's programming and education and the Case Western Reserve University Cleveland Playhouse MFA acting program. Philanthropy has been second nature to the couple. Stan Meisel was born in Cleveland. He became a successful entrepreneur who has taken pleasure in helping others to succeed in business in Northeast Ohio. Because of his interest in the arts and education, he formed the Meisel Family Foundation. This foundation awards scholarships to a number of Cleveland and human service organizations. His and Bobby's interest in the arts led him to become active in the Cleveland Playhouse. He served as board treasurer, on the executive committee, and was president of the Playhouse Club and of the Men's Committee. In recognition of his numerous contributions to the Playhouse, he was elected an honorary trustee for life. Cleveland Playhouse has indeed been fortunate to have Stan's advice and counsel for many years. Barbara, affectionately known as Bobby, lived in Cleveland until her family moved to California when she was 13. Bobby has said that I was born into the Cleveland Playhouse. She was a member of the Curtain Pullers, the youth theater program that incubated the early careers of such actors as Joel Grey and Margaret Hamilton. She graduated from UCLA with a major in theater arts, and while at a cousin's wedding here in Cleveland in 1952, Bobby met Stan on a blind date. After extending her trip, Stan proposed, and they were married in California and returned to Cleveland. Bobby went on to a career as a radio actress on the Cavalcade of American Anthology series. Barbara was always the I will help person and chaired many groups for the Women's Committee. After several years of dedication, Bobby was elected president and served 2 terms. Her passion for the education of children and exposing them to live theater led Stan to establish a fund in her name, which provided funding for transportation for inner-city children to be able to come to the Cleveland Playhouse for studio performances. The Meisels are kind, they're gentle, and they're effective. They are part of a special group who were the backbone of the theater for many years, and their support continues to this day. In 2011, they made a leadership gift to the Power of 3 campaign, the effort that has remodeled the Allen Theater. Today, thanks to them, we're sitting on the Meisel stage of that theater. Their dedication and devotion to Cleveland Playhouse has become an enduring legacy.